Chance encounter. The Chicago skyline stretched out before Jessica Thompson, a tapestry of glass and steel against the crisp autumn sky. From her corner office on the 37th floor, the city seemed both vast and somehow small, a microcosm of ambition and dreams, some realized, others still out of reach. At 29, Jessica had climbed the corporate ladder with determination, landing a coveted position as marketing manager at Apex Innovations, a Fortune 500 company known for its cutthroat culture and impressive bottom line. She leaned back in her ergonomic chair, its soft leather a stark contrast to the hard decisions she faced daily. Her desk, a sleek expanse of polished mahogany, was cluttered with reports and campaign mock-ups, each representing countless hours of work and strategic planning. It was a testament to her success, but lately, it felt more like a gilded cage than a throne. Jessica's gaze drifted to a small framed photo nestled among the papers, a snapshot of her family back in Oakfield, Wisconsin. Her parents stood proudly in front of their modest farmhouse, flanked by Jessica's younger siblings. The image stirred a complex mix of emotions, love, nostalgia, and a twinge of guilt that had become all too familiar. As if on cue, her phone buzzed with a message. Jessica didn't need to look to know it was from her mother, but she picked it up anyway. "Don't forget, sweetie. Aunt Linda's asking when you're coming home next. We miss you. Dad's wondering if you'll make it for the Harvest Festival this year." A sigh escaped her lips, heavy with the weight of expectations she couldn't quite meet. She loved her family fiercely, but their vision of her future, settling down in Oakfield, maybe taking over her father's small accounting firm, felt like a sweater that had grown too tight. They meant well, she knew, but they couldn't understand the fire that drove her, the ambition that had carried her from their small town to the bustling heart of Chicago. Jessica's fingers hovered over the keyboard, crafting and deleting responses. How could she explain that her life in Chicago, as demanding as it was, felt more like home than Oakfield ever had? In the end, she settled for a non-committal reply. "Thanks, Mom. Things are busy here, but I'll try to visit soon. Love you all." Turning back to her computer, Jessica minimized the quarterly report she'd been analyzing and, after a moment's hesitation, opened a hidden folder buried deep in her personal files. Inside were meticulously crafted business plans, logo designs, and marketing strategies, the skeleton of a dream she'd been nurturing in secret. "Thompson Creative Solutions," read one sleek logo mock-up, the name both a declaration of independence and a nod to her roots. For a moment, Jessica allowed herself to imagine it. Her own agency, built from the ground up. No corporate politics, no stifling expectations, just pure creativity and the freedom to chart her own course. Her heart raced at the thought, a mixture of excitement and terror coursing through her veins. But reality, cold and unyielding, crept back in. The steady paycheck, the prestige of her current position, the security that allowed her to help her family when they needed it. Could she really risk all that for a dream? The cursor hovered over the folder for a long moment before she closed it, pushing the dream aside once more. "Maybe someday," she murmured, the words a familiar mantra. Squaring her shoulders, Jessica turned her attention back to the tasks at hand, burying herself in the work that had defined her life for so long. The next morning found Jessica navigating the bustling halls of the Grand Chicago Hotel, where the annual Midwest Marketing Summit was in full swing. The air buzzed with conversation and the clinking of coffee cups as professionals from across the region networked and shared ideas. Despite the early hour, Jessica felt energized, her step buoyed by the prospect of delivering her presentation on emerging digital marketing trends. As she rounded a corner, her mind preoccupied with last-minute adjustments to her slides, fate intervened in the form of a solid mass of suit and cologne. The collision sent Jessica stumbling backward, her portfolio flying from her hands and scattering its contents across the polished marble floor. "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry," Jessica exclaimed, dropping to her knees to gather the fallen documents. Her cheeks burned with embarrassment, all thoughts of her upcoming presentation momentarily forgotten. No, it was entirely my fault," a deep voice replied, its tone warm and genuinely apologetic. "I should have been watching where I was going." Jessica looked up, her gaze meeting a pair of startlingly blue eyes. The man they belonged to was already kneeling beside her, helping to collect the scattered papers. He was tall, she noted, with sandy brown hair and the kind of easy smile that immediately set her at ease, despite the awkward circumstances. As they stood, Jessica found herself face to face with one of the most handsome men she'd ever encountered. He exuded a quiet confidence that was magnetic, yet there was a kindness in his eyes that spoke of a genuine warmth. "I'm Michael," he said, extending his hand. "Michael Reynolds, I hope I haven't completely derailed your morning." "Jessica Thompson," she replied, shaking his hand and trying to ignore the spark she felt at his touch. "And no harm done, really. Thank you for helping me clean up this mess." Michael's smile widened, creating small crinkles at the corners of his eyes that Jessica found inexplicably charming. "It's the least I could do after nearly bowling you over," he chuckled. "Are you presenting today?" Jessica nodded, gesturing to her now disheveled portfolio. "In about an hour, actually. A panel on digital marketing strategies for emerging tech markets." Michael's eyes lit up with interest. "Really? That's exactly what I've been hoping to learn more about. I run a tech startup, and we're in desperate need of some marketing expertise. Would you mind if I sat in on your presentation?" "Not at all," Jessica replied, surprised by her own eagerness. There was something about Michael that put her at ease, a refreshing authenticity that stood out in the often superficial world of a corporate networking. "I'd be happy to chat more afterward if you have any questions." As Michael smiled and nodded, Jessica couldn't help but feel that this chance encounter might lead to something interesting, both professionally and personally. For the first time in longer than she cared to admit, she felt a flutter of excitement that had nothing to do with market shares or profit margins. Over the next few weeks, Jessica found herself spending more and more time with Michael. What started as a professional consultation for his startup quickly evolved into something deeper, more meaningful. They discovered a shared love for their Midwestern roots, swapping stories about growing up in small towns and the values that had shaped them. Michael's company, a promising tech startup developing innovative, sustainable energy solutions, became a welcome challenge for Jessica. She found herself pouring hours into crafting marketing strategies for him. Her creativity sparked in a way it hadn't been in years. More than once, she caught herself working on his projects late into the night, long after she'd finished her official duties for Apex. One crisp evening in late October, Jessica and Michael found themselves walking along the Chicago Riverwalk after a particularly productive strategy session. The city lights shimmered on the water's surface, and a gentle breeze carried the scent of approaching winter. Jessica pulled her coat tighter around her, grateful for both the warmth and the excuse to step a little closer to Michael. "You know, Jess," Michael began, his tone thoughtful, "I've got to ask, why are you still working for that big corporation? Every time we talk about my company's marketing needs, I see this spark in you. It's like you come alive in a way I don't see when you talk about your day job." Jessica felt her cheeks flush, both from the compliment and the uncomfortable truth of his words. She was silent for a moment, gathering her thoughts as they walked. "It's complicated," she finally sighed, her breath visible in the cool air. "My family back home, they have certain expectations. The steady job, the eventual move back to Wisconsin, maybe taking over my dad's firm. Starting my own business feels like a pipe dream, something that happens to other people." Michael stopped walking and turned to face her fully, his expression serious but kind. "But is that what you want, Jess? Because every time you talk about your ideas for my company, or when you show me those designs you've been working on for other hypothetical clients, I see the real you. And she's incredible." The question hung in the air between them, heavy with possibility. Jessica found herself lost in Michael's earnest gaze, seeing not just support, but a belief in her that she hadn't even allowed herself to feel. In that moment, with the city humming around them and her heart pounding in her chest, Jessica felt the walls she'd built around her dreams begin to crumble. "No," she finally admitted, the word barely above a whisper. "No, it's not what I want. I want to create something of my own, to take all these ideas I have and see if I can make them fly. But it's terrifying, Michael. What if I fail?" Michael reached out and took her hand, his touch sending a warmth through her that had nothing to do with the autumn chill. Then you'll pick yourself up and try again, he said softly. But Jess, from what I've seen, I don't think you will fail. I think you'd be amazing. As they stood there, the city lights reflecting off the river and hope blossoming in her chest, Jessica realized that this chance encounter had become so much more. It wasn't just about potential romance or a new client. Michael had become a catalyst, pushing her towards the future she'd always dreamed of but never dared to pursue. Maybe it's time, she said, her voice growing stronger with each word. Time to take a chance on myself. Michael's smile was radiant as he squeezed her hand. I think it is. And for what it's worth, I'll be here cheering you on every step of the way. As they resumed their walk, Jessica felt a weight lift from her shoulders. The path ahead was uncertain, but for the first time in years, she felt truly excited about the future. She had taken the first step towards her dreams, and she wasn't alone. 6 months later, Jessica stood in her new office, a small but vibrant space in a trendy co-working building in Chicago's West Loop. The walls were adorned with inspirational quotes and mood boards, each a testament to the creative energy that now filled her days. On the door, freshly painted in elegant script, were the words she had dreamed of for so long: Thompson Creative Solutions. Her desk, a far cry from the imposing mahogany of her corporate days, was a reclaimed wood piece she had fallen in love with at a local flea market. It was covered in sketches, color swatches, and the organized chaos of a mind constantly in motion. A framed photo caught her eye. Not the old family picture from her Apex days, but a new one. She stood proudly in front of her office door on opening day, flanked by her beaming parents and siblings, who had made the trip from Oakfield to support her. The journey hadn't been easy. Leaving the security of her corporate job had been terrifying, and there had been moments of doubt when she wondered if she had made a terrible mistake. But with each small victory, her first client, her first completed campaign, her first glowing testimonial, Jessica felt more certain that she had made the right choice. Her phone buzzed with a message from Michael. Proud of you, Jess. Can't wait to see the proposal. Dinner tonight to celebrate? Jessica smiled, warmth spreading through her chest. Michael had been true to his word, supporting her every step of the way. What had started as a chance encounter had blossomed into something beautiful, a partnership built on mutual respect, shared dreams, and a love that had taken them both by surprise. She typed back a quick, "Absolutely, can't wait," before turning to her computer. The screen displayed her first major client proposal, for Michael's startup, of course, but it was just the beginning. Other potential clients were starting to take notice, drawn by the fresh perspective and personal touch that set Thompson Creative Solutions apart from the corporate giants. As she began to work, refining her ideas and pouring her passion into every word, Jessica felt a sense of contentment wash over her. She had taken a leap of faith, not just in her career, but in love as well. The road ahead was still uncertain, but for the first time in her life, that uncertainty felt exhilarating rather than frightening. Later that evening, as she and Michael clinked glasses over dinner at their favorite little Italian restaurant, Jessica couldn't help but marvel at how a simple chance encounter had changed everything. She had found not just professional fulfillment, but a partner who understood and championed her ambitions. To new beginnings, Michael toasted, his eyes shining with affection and pride. And to taking chances, Jessica added, her heart full of gratitude for the unexpected turn her life had taken. As they talked and laughed, planning a weekend trip back to Wisconsin to share their latest news with her family, Jessica knew that she had finally found the missing piece. It wasn't just success or love. It was the courage to be truly herself in both her career and her heart. The chance encounter had been just the beginning. The real adventure was only just starting, and Jessica couldn't wait to see where it would lead. With Michael by her side and her dreams finally taking flight, she felt ready for whatever challenges and triumphs lay ahead. The future, once a source of anxiety, now sparkled with possibility. A canvas waiting for her to paint her own masterpiece.